love this country.
Thoughts on current military, law enforcement, self-defense techniques, and what you both would incorporate to make better?
That's a super broad question.
I'll narrow it down.
Okay.
And I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but you got cops, police, who have a hard job, a miserable job.
Could never do it. I'd be in jail.
So would I.
Okay.
I could never do it. Never would want to do it.
What'd you say to me?
Yeah. Just
dead.
dealing with the dregs of society, for 14 calls. And then the 15th call, you're going to, some domestic violence. And it's just a horrible, hard job. And then you have these shootings where, quote unquote, innocent people get shot. And sometimes they are. I've seen some of these police shootings. There's no way I can approve it. And I am all about killing bad guys. And some of the shootings, you just say, man, that cop. And I always look at it the same way. And I say, that cop didn't have the training
he needed.
And what really hurts is that I know how to I know what to do to make them better and get them better at that. I know you do.
They don't have the money. They don't have the time.
They don't have the money. They don't have the time. A lot of times they don't even have the experience within the department of someone that knows how to train people mentally, because that's what it is. It's mental preparation of getting someone ready to handle these scenarios, because it's just an unknown scenario. That's what it is. And one of my worst examples is this guy pulls up to a 7-Eleven. It's all body camera. The whole thing's on video. The guy gets a call. There's a guy with a gun in 7-Eleven, pulls up in his cruiser to the 7-Eleven, gets out of his car, sees a guy walking away, starts yelling at him. The guy's wearing a hoodie. The guy's walking away from him. The cop's yelling at him, freeze, freeze, freeze. The guy doesn't freeze. And finally he's yelling, and the cop's standing in the wide open, holding his gun out, freeze, freeze. And finally the guy turns around, looks at the cop, reaches his hands in his pockets, boom, cop shoots him. Guy falls down, falls to the curb, rolls, he's on his stomach. Cop comes over, rolls him over, starts to search him. He pulls his hood off. He's got headphones in, reaches in his pockets. He's got an iPhone on, and he was just sitting there listening to music. Couldn't hear the cop, turned around, reached in his pocket to turn off the iPhone, and, the cop who got the call, there was a guy with a gun and thinks he's reaching for a gun, dusts him.
Yeah.
Guy died, bled out. And you can hear the cop. The cop felt horrible. Once he realized that, he's like, come on, buddy. It's going to be okay. I'm going to get you. Just like the classic things that I know you've heard before of like, I want to save this guy's life, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And what I know is that guy going into that situation from the get-go, if you think someone's got a gun, don't stand out in the open and talk to him. Yeah. Get behind cover and stand back and stay behind your car, get on your cruiser, get on your loudspeaker, and look at him and watch him and see what he's doing and see if there's a real threat. But don't expose yourself to him by standing out in the middle of the open, where if he does have a gun, he's going to get you.
Yeah.
And those are simple things that, you could do to improve the training. What you have to do is you have to put people in stressful situations during the training. And that's what we did in the SEAL teams. I know that's what you guys do in the SF, is you get put in these horrible, stressful situations where everything is getting destroyed. You're getting shot with paintball, and they're blowing smoke grenades up, and all frags hitting you. They do that in the training so that when you get in combat, you're not freaked out.
Yeah. And
you can handle the situation.
Train hard so you bleed less. It's like it's pretty simple. And like we do in Austin, we do a stress test a week. Sometimes it's barbell stuff on the range and kit where we're doing like Olympic lifts to a sprint, and then you pick up your gun and shoot. Or it's slung, and then you do like a 5-mile run, and as soon as you step on the range, it's like 500 targets. You're just running down the line. And that's so I know, and it feels normal for my heart rate to be pounding so that I can't hear anything besides my own beating heart in my ears, sweat dripping in my eyes, sweat dripping on my optics, my grip being jacked up because it's covered with sweat and, a little bit of blood because I tripped and fell on my face, and that seems normal. If I went to a range and shot in like a vacuum, like where it's like air conditioned, right, and like the guy's like, all right, no, you can't shoot faster than 1 round a second and no drawing from the holster. So let's just, have a good time here. I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
I'd be like, this is really uncomfortable. Can someone just start screaming at me and throwing something at me so I could just at least shoot, 100%. The training for my brother's a police officer. My dad's a police officer. I went to the police academy in 99. And I was astounded I was a kid. I was 21 years old. I was astounded at how they were not prepared for anything. One was like, all right, how about this? All 20 of you try to get cuffs on me. Yeah, didn't happen.
No.
Now, my wrists were bloody. I had a cuff on my leg. I had one cuff on my arm. And I had like 6 or 7 of them cuffed together. And there's like 18 or there's 12 of them yet left. And they didn't know what to do. This is a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. Just like you said, they just don't have the training.
Yep.
With that said, if a cop tells you to get on the ground,
Get on the
freaking ground. Talk to him about it later. I get it. Like you know the Constitution so well, and you're like the greatest lawyer about legal criminology. Shut up, lay down,
Get
and
on
talk,
the ground,
and just figure it out later, or have your lawyer do it. If you can't afford a lawyer, just talk to the sergeant afterwards. Yeah, just give those guys more training.
And you got to do the right kind of training. You got to do I think you got to do force on force, man on man training. And
When was the last time that a municipal police department did a force on force training?
You should be doing it all the time. All the time.
I've never even heard of a department doing it.
That's horrible.
Sim, CERTA, whatever. I mean,
whatever you're going to use.
Yeah.
But you got to have people, other humans that are maneuvering on you, that are reacting to you, that are drawing on you, or they're not, or they're raising their hands, or they're pulling out their cell phone, or they're running scared.
So when you did force on force in the SEALs, who do you use as your OP4?
SEALs.
Other SEALs. Dude, and is there nothing better than, who wants to win?
Everybody.
Everybody wants to win. So like we at Fort Bragg would use like 82nd Airborne or would use another SF group. Dude, and if they're any second guy, like this is their chance. They're going to do everything that they can to shoot an SF guy. And if it's another SF guy, then the level of competition, that competitive nature, like, oh, I'm gonna ambush them. We're gonna crawl up into the ventilation and try to shoot them in the top of their heads from the air conditioning. They're like taking quickie saws and cutting the ventilation open. I mean, it's gangster.
It's gangster. And you know what? That's what's great about that is, guess what the enemy does? Guess
thing.
Guess what the Mooj does?
They're just not as good.
They build false walls. They build trap doors. They do all that stuff. And I had a group that was going through their land warfare training in the SEAL teams, and they actually failed. And so we were retreading them, making them go through it again, go through their FTXs, their field training exercises, these big, giant training exercises with all kinds of chaos. And they were doing their first retread, so they're trying to pass the exercise this time. And I go out there, and I'm listening to their brief, and I'm watching them do the rehearsal. And they get done with the rehearsal, and they all come together, and the senior enlisted guy is kind of putting out some word. And he looks at me, and he goes, hey, Jocko, do you got anything to say to these guys? And I wasn't really expecting it, So I said, this is 40-man SEAL element. I said, yeah, I got something to say. You guys are going to go out there against 6 other guys. There's 40 of you. You guys got machine guns, grenades, and there's 40 of you. I said, go out there, and when they start shooting at you, hunt those motherfuckers down and murder them. And they're like, yeah. And so the troop walks away, and they're all fired up. And then the senior enlisted guy and the senior officer standing there, and they said, hey, man, thanks for getting our guys fired up. I think that really helped them out. And I said, you should hear what I'm about to go tell my guys, which was my guys that were going to go against them.
Yeah.
Because I would give my guys all kinds of rewards, anybody that they could kill. They would capture bodies, anybody that could get in a perimeter. They would just completely, what you're saying, they would just completely mud suck them and draw them into the most chaotic situations. And the point of all this conversation is that you're going against other human beings and other human beings that are going to do unpredictable things. And that's what makes the training challenging, and that's what makes life challenging. That's what makes these situations challenging in a real scenario, is you don't know what these people are going to do. How many times you've been dealing with some, enemy or unknown, and you're like, what in God's name is this person doing? Iraq or Afghanistan? I didn't fight in Afghanistan, but in Iraq, you'd be looking at someone going, oh, this person is insane.
Yeah.
What are they doing right now? Why are they doing that? They're going to die if they, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing about humans, is they're humans. There's like points of departure from logic, and they live in chaos. And some people can't even live without chaos. And then we're going into a place where cultures are different, languages are different. You know, what is the norm is different, and we're trying to enact what we think is normal, and they're like, bro, you're crazy. I'm like, no, you're crazy. I'm like, no, it's all poor cops.
Yeah. So, and you know what you can do if you're a cop though, and your force doesn't have the money for this, or they're not doing this, you can absolutely train. You can actually absolutely train in jiu-jitsu, in MMA, in fighting, so you get more comfortable and more confident in those situations. And the other thing I've said to do in the past is, man, I know it sounds lame, but watch some YouTube videos. Yeah. Watch some YouTube videos of like the thing that I just described. Watch that YouTube video and say, I watched YouTube videos in combat and before combat. You know what I watched before YouTube? I watched war movies, but documentaries.
Yeah.
So I could watch these guys in action and see what was happening in their faces. Because you can watch people on YouTube, watch these perpetrators and start to understand human nature better just by watching what they're doing. Just grow your mind, grow your brain a little bit.
And if you want to get better at shooting, dry fire.
Yeah.
I spend 90% of my practice time of shooting without bullets in my gun. You know?
Yep.
And there's like a few grandmasters that are out shooting me right now. You know, so
dry fire.
Yeah. These are good questions.
Yeah, the internet's filled with.
We're on to number 3. This is not boding well for time.
Okay, for those of you that don't know, they recently removed bayonet training.
God damn it!
Yeah, I know, Tim. I'm sorry, but they removed bayonet training.
What makes the green grass grow? Do you know what makes the green grass grow?
I thought it was bayonet training.
No. Blood.
Blood.
Blood. That's what it does. That's the motto.
Okay.
And so the question was, and I guess I put this in here just for entertainment value. Would you have kept bayonet training in? That's the question. And it says, does it instill warrior spirit or not? Tim Kennedy, your opinion, please.
I don't even want to dignify this question with a response. I don't. It's so infuriating. So, yeah, I get it. We're not going to have bayonets on AT-4s. You know, we are in an army now that tactics are dictating that that's not how we're going to train. With that said, during bayonet training, it doesn't give you a thirst for blood, but gives you an understanding of what war is like. And war is chaos. War is hell. War is ugly. War is disgusting. War is violent, most of all. It's violent. And bayonet training, while you're running around affixing your bayonet and scream, what makes the green grass grow? Blood, blood, blood makes the green grass grow. Yeah, that sounds primal. It is primal. War is disgusting. And you have to, one, understand it and maybe have trained in it, so that you can appreciate what it's going to be like. So when you get there, the first time you've seen crazy and chaos and anarchy and rage is not there. It's in training.
Yeah, that's
pussies.
Exactly what we just talked about. You know, it's exactly what we just talked about. And this
is what that question made me do.
Tim crunched up his coconut water can with the statement of that question. And the other piece of this is Tim said in that, I'll go ahead and call it a little bit of a rant. He said that war is crazy and chaotic and evil and disgusting and savage. And in a way, when you're in war, you have to become that. And you can't just become it from nowhere. No, you have to develop that mindset over time.
Like I'm a badass. That's not how it works.
It doesn't work that way. And so this type of training, which I would call primal, truly, I mean, people use that word all the time, primal. I'm actually using it in its proper terminology usage. Primal training.
I'm taking a tool used to kill things and attaching it to a tool that's used to kill things, so I can practice with a
Killing
tool
things.
stacked on top of another tool about how to kill things.
And then you're going to take that thing and you're going to slam it into a thing that looks like a person.
Yep. A bunch
so
of times.
You get used to it over and over.
And your shoulder's going to hurt, and your hands are going to hurt, you know, and like you're going to have blisters and cut your hands up against your gun. You didn't realize you had to hold it that way. And you make the mental note that I'm not going to hold it against my shoulder next time because I can't feel my shoulder. Like these are good lessons learned. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep the bayonet training. Bring it back. Bring it back. Next question. Can you instill the will to kill and the will to die in soldiers without a corollary nihilism?
Yes.
And we get a direct answer from Tim.
Mm-hmm. Move. Next question. we kind of already talked about it when we said, in the contrast of things, like your life, I think, is a personification of how to do that. If you can't have beauty unless you know what ugly looks like.
True.
You can't have hot if you don't know what cold feels like. You can't have evil without good. And I don't think that you can teach people how to. So if we're just teaching everybody how to be like murderer, killers, soldiers that we're not making robots. We're showing them how to do something. And the reason that they can do it and not be complete psychopathic murderers, occasionally one slips through. I'm not saying that, but not very often. It's because the humanity of us, like what is the thing that's stopping us from killing, Echo Charlie here?
Because I'm highly trained.
You are. Yeah. It's our humanity, and my appreciation, my beautiful wife and my kids, and loving Austin, Texas and barbecue and motorcycles, like that's normal to me. So when I have to go and deploy and see disgusting things and, make mistakes like throwing grenades into a room with women and then having to live with that the rest of my life, the reason that I'm still sane is because I know what right is, because of ethics and morality and humanity. So yeah, that's how and you can do it. It's because intelligent guys that end up in units like the ones you were in can understand what the difference is.
Yes. Yes. And I think that this is something that is, again, referring back to the culture of America that a lot of people starts to slip away. But you got to remember those 2,000 men that lined up in rural California. Sure, there was a little handful of them that were like, oh, cool, I'm going to go kill some people. But there was a lot of people that saying, hey, I'm going to go out and protect freedom. And so I think it's not only something that you instill and you work on through the training and like through the training that we just talked about of stabbing or shooting man-shaped targets, or even better when you're using simunition. I mean, you're shooting at other people. Mm-hmm. It instills in you that you can do that. But I think the American values that we're taught as people growing up in this country they do respect life. They do respect freedom and the right for the pursuit of happiness. The things that you just talked about. Yeah. Barbecues, motorcycles, wife, kids, those are things that we respect. And I'm sure you've been in the situation. I know I've been in it many, many times of where you're taking the man from the house. Either you killed him or you're taking him away.
Yeah.
And
he's not going back.
He's not going back. That's one of those things where, as a person, you're looking at the wife and kids, and you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, you married the wrong guy, but you do feel bad for him.
Absolutely.
I mean, hey, sorry, you're
some of the most beautiful kids on the planet.
Your dad's not coming back.
No.
Your dad did the wrong thing.
But that dad would also hide behind those kids wearing a bomb.
Absolutely.
If not strap a bomb to him himself.
Absolutely.
It's not the same type of human that
it's not.
We are.
It's not. It's absolutely not. And that was one of the most that was absolutely one of the most disturbing things that my guys would have to deal with was insurgents using kids as shields. And thank God I had some really good snipers that were able to kill guys that were literally using kids as human shields.
Yeah. We had a guy walking towards us wearing a bomb vest, and we were using thermal imagers. And he had his kid in front of him, and he was trying to cover, because we had heat signature, he was trying to cover himself so he could get close enough. He's holding his kid out, like, take my kid, take my kid. And the only reason was he was trying to cover the distance so he could hurt us with his bomb vest, which had glass and shrapnel and nails and stuff. Yeah. So his body, he was going to use his body as a water impulse charge. So, no, it's not naive that I'm saying they're not the same humans as us. They're not. They do not. For me to say they're the same human, you have to have the same value for human life. When I watch Marines jump on top of Afghani and Iraqi kids trying to protect them from a bomb going off, not using the kid as a bomb, jumping on top of they're not American kids. These are Marines or Navies or Army guys jumping on top of local kids, indigenous kids, to save them. Different understanding of what humanity is. Yeah. So we get it. Your question, great question. You can do it.
Yep. And you can definitely, and we have done it as a nation.
And we are doing it.
And we are continuing to do it.